Financial disclaimer. The information provided in this stream is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional financial or investment advice. We are not licensed financial advisors, and the content presented here is based on our personal opinions and experiences. Investing in stocks and other financial instruments involves risk, including the potential loss of capital. Any investment decisions you make are solely your own responsibility, and you should conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment choices. The content we share on this stream may not be accurate, complete, or up to date. Market conditions and financial regulations can change rapidly, and we cannot guarantee the accuracy or reliability of the information presented. We do not endorse or promote any specific stocks, companies, or investment strategies. Any actions you take based on the content of this stream are at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses or damages that may occur as a result. Always remember that past performance is not indicative of future results, and no investment is guaranteed to be profitable. Make informed decisions and consider your risk tolerance before investing any funds. By accessing and using this stream, you acknowledge and agree that we are not responsible for any investment decisions you make as a result of the content presented. You are encouraged to seek advice from qualified financial professionals for personalized guidance. Please invest responsibly and only with money you can afford to lose.
Hey man, just found the next guaranteed multi-bagger.
Hey man, you found another one? What is it this time?
Come check this out.
Okay, next please. How can I help you, young man?
We want to go all in on DZSI. We love when the company's being investigated and we see great opportunities here.
Well, that's fantastic. A really smart decision, young man. We can put that check and it's gone.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Laughing Stock. Johnny, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. A bit bored, to be honest.
Yeah, no, sideways markets. Yeah, I had this chart pulled up just because I thought this was a good one. Actually, let me just zoom in here. Oh, crap, I just clicked out. Of course. Hold on, let me just open back up my internet. Where the heck's my internet? Where the heck is the internet?
I don't know.
Why do I not have tabs? Is it because it's... I don't know, that's weird. New window. That's weird. Well, usually I have it all key linked. It must be because I already have internet tabs open. You can't see the internet?
Maybe. I think we talked some shit about the robots last stream, right?
They're already fucking with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, my goal was to just zoom in here. But yeah, it's a pullback for sure, but I don't know. It's not the first time it's happened. I mean, we had this in July of last year. And actually, July opened up pretty weak on that fourth week, but then recovered, and from there on kind of trickled back up. So yeah. We'll see. We were talking a little bit, about the macro environment before, and as we always say, we don't want to get political in here, but we have to just kind of see what's going to happen. The markets are going to react, regardless of what you think. And all these economists, the reason they're economists is because they aren't actually in the markets. They're not the ones actually buying and selling. All the theory and stuff hits a wall once you actually look at what the market does. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, we're number one at an all-time high. Pulling back from. So, being down a few percent from the all-time high is really not that big of a deal. But we'll see where the markets can go from here. I'm not entirely convinced that we're going to go much lower than this. I mean, if you look at the daily, we have broken now below the 200 moving average, which is a big deal. But it's also kind of pulled sideways from like the Bollinger Band here, and it's just like holding there, which a lot of times if I see a sideways move that's sustained for a few days on Bollinger Band, like you can see here, when it pulls, it starts to pull back up. Once again, this one it tapped and then pulls back up. Down here, found a bottom and pulled sideways and then went back up. A lot of times when I see that, in my mind, that means kind of, that the big move might be over. Now, don't get me wrong, you can do this kind of seesaw action here. But I guess the bigger question in my mind is what's the big catalyst that would cause much more of a sell-off than this? And I just don't see something. Like when we were looking back at the monthly for kind of like the long term. And like even if you look like, this is the end of the 90s .com bubble. Here's the great financial crisis. Like those are really genuine issues that occurred in the markets. I don't see this as a genuine issue. The only other big drop on here is 2022, and that's after all the inflation and money printing and kind of just the markets got so overdone for a little bit that they cooled off for an entire year essentially. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much I see it. Do I see it come back a little bit or move sideways for a while here? Yes. But I don't see any actual catalyst to really drive this down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a bit. It's hard to say, of course, but I agree with you, and it seems like a bit now that nothing shows up in our screeners, right? This last month almost, and it seems like everyone is just a bit hesitant and want to wait and see where things are heading.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking, I mean, I know this is monthly, but like, even like on a 10-month moving average, we literally just dip below that. So even if this is a bit of a correction, it's still early on. It's not that big of a move just yet. So, I'm not really panicking. I'm not doing anything right now.
No.
We're laughing because we're like, what do we talk about today? Because here's my portfolio. Still don't have anything in. I took 3 trades this week, and like I said, they're small position sizes, and I'm down 0.1% because one of them sort of worked out, one of them didn't, and then the other one was like break even. So I'm barely down. So in my mind, and like I said, it's more me just testing the waters. Like we get an up day. If I go back just to that to the Nasdaq, and I on one of these days where the green candle kind of comes right back up, like this one bounced off that 200 moving day average. This one started below it and then worked its way back above. Those are the days I'm more tempted to try and take something. I didn't take anything yesterday, and I just didn't see anything that looked super strong. But there was some stuff that closed, and to be honest, actually, the 2 names that I went into, if I would have held them, I actually would have gained a profit. So I just tried to play it safe, and one of them was a profit, the other one wasn't. One of them I got stopped out, so I did, like I said, I took 3 trades.
Yeah.
But,
no, I have taken 1 this week, and I got stopped out almost immediately. It was a bit of I wanted to try something, and it didn't work out straight away. So I was, and that was on Thursday, I think, or even yesterday. I don't remember anymore. But it was Thursday. I've tried to learn from the past 3 weeks, and been thinking like a lot of these breakouts are not working. So why try to gamble anymore? I've tested it now, and it has not hurt me a lot, but I'm down, So this week I've been still paying attention. I've been at the computer almost every day at the opening. I've been trying to look for things, but it's like when 7 names show up in your screener, which usually can hold more than 100. Saying that, of course, on the green days, they a lot of stocks came into the screeners, but I didn't see any interesting setups. We talked about that in our WhatsApp, right, Dane?
Yeah.
There was not many setups.
Yeah, and the setups I found, like I said, it's tough to see them actually carry through. There's not a lot of, it's not really strong volume too, which, when it was good markets, it was kind of easy because, to be honest, the volume would always kind of support when something was breaking out. And now it's tough. Sometimes it supports it. The only thing I even see that seems like a strategy during this is because, if you're trying to do like a swing trading strategy, the problem is you'll get this up move for a day or 2, but then give it 2 more days and the whole market's sold down so much. So your chance of actually getting a big return in these is very low. Even a stock that's up 15% can be down 15% the next day, or down or lose most of that gain. So it's a really tough market. And this is the hourly chart for the past month. And you can just see every time, give it a day or 2 and it has a strong move, it's right back down. And it's been that whole way. And this is the 65 EMA, which I stole from Qualamaji. He used that for his hourly setup. And it just kind of gives you an idea of just where we are in general compared to the line. But definitely in a down market right now. But it's still nothing impressive to me. I follow Minervini's X page, and he said they have a short on the SPY since sometime in February. So he called this pretty nicely. You and I have been talking a little bit about shorting. I'm not convinced I want to do it just yet, but it would give you something to do in this time period because...
Yeah, and I think that's what, if you have more legs to stand on in any given situation, and you will be ready, and you can master all kinds of strategies, that will be the best thing, right? But I'm not thinking about shorting stuff now. That's a long way into the future for me. But you see the success some people have with it, Kulamagi and others. I saw a guy also on YouTube. He had like a 68% year to date, and I was like, and he's doing similar stuff to us, and I couldn't understand. But then quickly I just, you are shorting stuff. So it's definitely possibilities, but right now that's not for me.
If you're doing a strategy that's long and you're still up 68% this year, good for you.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see what you've done and if it's replicable. But so I don't know. It's just been kind of a slow market. Yeah. I went back and did all this testing on the NASDAQ and the S&P to try and figure out. I do like the NASDAQ index better than the S&P. It's a little bit more volatile, so I kind of like the more extreme up and downs of it, to be honest. It's a little bit easier when you're testing things, in my mind. I mean, you could argue that point easily, but it doesn't, just how I've been doing it. And even if we look at the past, I don't know, let's look at 5 years worth. You could see when there's a cross below that 200-day moving average, it does mean to watch, because that's like the big move in 2022 when it broke down and pulled back above. And you'll notice in the past 2 years, every time it's tapped it, it's basically come right off of it. So a sustained move below here would signal something bearish to me. I mean, that would make me really hesitant to be trading much. So we'll see. And if you go back historically, the problem is just selling out on 200 moving day averages. What it really does is eat you alive. It looks really good on this part of the chart. So in the past 5 years, it would have been a sound strategy. But even go back like one more year here. Sorry, this is really zoomed out. But there's a lot of time like COVID, or what is this? This is at the end of 18. There was a bit of a pullback. And, here it would have been a sellout. And yes, you would have missed the dip, but you would have been buying back in somewhere in here anyways. And I'm talking if you were like trying to trade your whole account based on this, not necessarily swing trading. But obviously during any of these periods, this should be kind of a huge warning to you to not be swing trading. Value brought up in the stream that, the chance of a breakout working, 90% of breakouts work when the 10 EMA or the price is above the 10 EMA. So just right there, obviously we're below that now. So something to think about that, it's tough to be doing a lot of breakouts during this time period. But, a lot of these you're selling and you're just losing whatever percent it costs to buy in and out of indexes and stuff like that. And that's assuming that you get out perfectly and you get back in perfectly when it crosses, which is not as easy as it sounds. Yeah. Because you got to think this is a bunch of days you'd be buying, selling at these marks. It's not like you would just know to buy and sell immediately. And that also could make you wait an extra day or two because you want to confirm the signal. And now if you would have just bought and held, you would have been better off. Yeah. So it's good for big drops like this section here, but it's also really hard to predict that, which, we've been talking, I know William O'Neill, he looks at more like the distribution side. So if we zoom back in so it's not so rough on the eyes here, he's focusing more on these lines. Actually, let's go to weekly because weekly will make this a little easier to... he's talking in general, just looking at how much distribution is going on. Like you can see it where when you have these, levels of distribution that are much higher and then you have these areas of, buying going in, you can start to see where the markets are going to continue to push higher because there's just so much buying coming in. You know, the markets eventually will break out of any kind of resistance and start raising levels. And, you know, we have had 3 weeks in a row now, and 5 if you exclude this one up week. So it does look like a more bearish period. But, you know, the other thing, too, I always say is just zoom out and look where we're at. I mean, you know, this is the 10-year monthly. I mean, this looks like we're barely down at all.
Yeah. And it's like, again, with the macro environment, but it's maybe apparently not, but maybe you should have expected this a bit more, that it would come a drop after the election and stuff like that, you know. You could have probably interpreted it can be a bit bouncy at least. And
Yeah,
I think
there's so much going on. It's hard to and like we always say this is why like value investors and stuff, we don't really look at macro because it's so hard to think about all the factors that are going into it and try and predict anything.
Yeah. And even if you do, it's like roaring kitties there, who cares?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and I mean,
back to your point with those people who try to predict these things, it's like okay, maybe you get it right sometimes, but most of the times no one cares about what you feel,
right.
and most of the times you are even wrong.
Yeah, it's like I said, I spent hours trying to find any kind of pattern I could. And besides some obvious patterns like, you know, heavy distribution, things are down, and you could try and guess the sell out here. It's just really tough to call because every time it looks like I found something, if I go to a different period of the market, I'll find things that break that down, you know? So it's this is why they say you can't just go off like the technicals on this kind of thing and really be successful. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not to say that, like, you know, as this crosses like this 5-month moving average here, and then you see it keep bouncing off that Bollinger Band, and then somewhere in here it really breaks down. You could have a strategy where you probably get out somewhere in here, and then as it pulls away from that Bollinger Band, probably get back in. It's probably somewhat reasonable, but it's tough to say. And like I said, I don't really care for any strategy like that because you're going to end up making mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, even Barry, right? He is a bit known also to try to predict some crashes. But on Twitter, a lot of people, even though I disagree with you shouldn't give him any shit, you know, but he gets a lot of shit for being wrong most of the times, I guess.
Yeah, well, and he also puts it out there.
Huh?
I said he puts it out there. Like, he's not afraid to say, I think you should sell, or I think we should buy. And, you know, if he's wrong, he'll say, yeah, I was wrong. But
yeah, that I was going to say that he also says that, okay, it didn't work out what I planned to, but my point was he is very successful, right? And he has been also accurate about predicting things, but it's not easy. So I just told you about that Jesse Livermore book I told you about. If anyone wants to read it, there's a story there about some guy who just is waiting for the market to give him confirmation to start to trade again, and until he gets that confirmation, he just sits still, basically. Yeah.
And similar, I mean, you were talking about this before. I've done the same thing. I feel like this last week, I started looking into some of my old hobbies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't really feel like you need to stress too much about the markets right now. I mean, you know, if you want to try and trade in this period, or if you're a shorter, I would agree that this already looks to me like this is a good time to take on that approach. And we can just tell in our screeners, you know, I used to check like, you know, different highs and how many stocks were performing each day. And another one that we pulled up from my dash that was interesting is the highs and lows.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see, I mean, look at how many highs and stuff we had in this period, and now look at the past since right before, you know, end of December. It's been a while. I mean, it's, you know, these are tough market periods. So if you're seeing this kind of volatility going on with a lot of down moves, I don't think it takes a genius to figure out that this is probably the exact opposite of what you want to be doing. I mean, this is where stuff's reaching new highs. This is literally telling you stuff's breaking to all-time highs, which during this period is exactly how our strategy works.
And you started during that time, didn't you?
Yes, I was spoiled. I started somewhere, really getting my rules set at the end of October. So I got this last bit here. Annoyingly, though, I could have been doing this since August. And even though there was this down period in here, I mean, there's big chunks of the year, a bunch of months that this would have been good.
Yeah, but it will come. New opportunities will come. That's what we are waiting for, and that's also a big point. If you want to, if you're not shorting and you take the time now to just sit out, you need to deliver when things are turning around. So I'm very eager to experience a period like this to see how I'm going to perform and what to learn. I'm sure I'm going to make heaps of mistakes also in those periods, but at least then I get some experience and can try to learn and predict how I will deal with the next one. So I just look at it also as a valuable lesson now to be in this environment. And my conclusion has been that I should have listened to Kulamagi straight away, that the breakouts, they are very hard in this type of environments.
Yeah, I agree. And, I don't want to get the value side confused too much with the technical side because, we've talked about deep value. And to be honest, the only way I still see deep value, and it's much similar to how we started, is I would be looking at just 52-week lows. Like, looking for stuff to form bases and whatnot. It's still hard to predict that base is ever going to go anywhere. So don't get me wrong. It's the same thing statistically, and no matter what style you're looking at, to try and narrow your range of stocks or companies to look at down to just so many that you can really spend enough time to make, more sound conclusions on it. Like, if you're Warren Buffett, there's only the top 500 companies you can even buy. He's only looking at maybe probably 20 of those that are what he considers excellent businesses based on a bunch of different metrics. And from there, he's only buying those few, and he's waiting for some kind of, it's usually 10 times operating cost or operating earnings. If he can find a company that's trading at under that, he'll buy it. Other than that, he won't touch them. Which is, I hear all these newscasters now talking about why Buffett's selling off. It's like, you guys don't know the first thing about markets. You don't know anything about value investing. Don't say why you think Warren Buffett's selling. There's a million people who've been following Buffett for a long time who could tell you. And Buffett even had in his annual shareholder meeting, he talked about it, or in his annual share letter. So, when you're doing breakouts, statistically, there's not going to be many breakouts here. It's literally telling you these are all reaching all-time lows. Most things are reaching all-time lows. It's a dumb time for us to be doing anything. During here, especially on some of these big moves, it's a great time to be finding breakouts. So same thing. When I'm talking about deep value here, this would probably be a good time to start looking for stuff reaching 52-week lows and see what can start to form bases down there. But my point being is you're always statistically trying to get things in your favor. I don't want to try and look at all 7,000 companies out there. I want to look at 100 and then narrow that down to 10, that I think look the best in that period, and then try and capitalize on those. And I don't know, I'm spitballing out with the idea, depending on how long this correction goes on for, or whatever it turns out to be, start looking at 52-week lows again, back to similar how we had kind of done value investing, and start taking small positions in those.
Yeah, and the longer that period, if it happens, keep happening, the better your chances to find a good company in deep value style you will have. Because then you can even be a bit late. It takes a little bit time, the deep value style,
Right, and one thing I was talking about is because I had went in with USEG before, and I did get stopped out, but I don't know, I've been going back and forth now because with USEG, I just want to zoom in here just because we don't need quite this far. I'll do 3 months. We're around that 200-day moving average, which is my orange line here. And you can see now it's tapped it twice and held up above it, which makes me think, this means, in my mind, if the 200 starts to really show support, this is a good time to be paying attention to this company. So when I'm looking at 52-week lows, I think what I would like to look at is, number one, what's at 52-week lows, whatever stocks those are. And is there any kind of base forming off some kind of important moving average? And if there is, those are the ones that I might dig into the business and actually, start to read. Is there anyone talking about it on Seeking Alpha? Or if they had a recent 10Q or something, is there anything in the 10Q that's saying that, guidance is maybe looking more optimistic at the rest of the year or something like that? And I think that'd be one way to do it. And on top of that too, just to keep risk in check, I look back to when Roaring Kitty was, kind of his portfolio had exploded because of COVID. But I liked how he had only had like a ton of positions, but they were all in like 1% positions. Yeah. And that means, to be honest, what I would start doing is only buying a few shares of whatever company when it starts to reach like a moving average I find a base on. And then I would keep some kind of strategy kind of similar to, like I said, like a 10% stop loss. But if you're going to keep averaging in, like let's say my goal was to have 50 companies at 2% positions. If I'm going to be buying that and slowly buying it over time, and I think it's going to ride on a base for a little bit, I could average down on that, and that would lower where my 10% is once I actually get up to 2%. Like my stop loss won't be broken until I get up to the 2%. If I get to 2% and it's below it, then I would get out. That would be like the way I did the rule. Yeah. But one way to get into deep value while the market's in a good pullback like this, to take advantage of something like that. And then you ride those deep value plays for whatever you think they're worth running. Whatever you judge that the business is worth, or what you think it could get on, and that's going to be based probably more on fundamentals than any kind of technicals in my mind. The technicals maybe would just show support, and then once those are done, back to swing trading. Yeah. Because that would mean, right as the swings are all starting to come in, all the deep value plays are starting to hopefully appreciate in price.
I think. Like I said, after I think that's what I will end up doing, but I need to experience what I said earlier, like a good period where the swing strategy gives me hopefully great results, Yeah. And then when when things have landed a bit stabilized and I know what I can do and manage, then I am very tempted to do exactly what you were saying, like go into different styles when the opportunity is more in favor of that, and do a lot of things, because we have done a lot of work already in deep value, so it's easy to just skip over to that again.
Right. Sorry, this is going so unbelievably slow. I'm just trying to get Yahoo to pull up stuff that's at lows, and go through here and start finding stuff that's at 52-week lows that are that are down, and start looking into some of these businesses. Obviously, I would want to tailor this to certain market caps and blah blah blah. I wouldn't just use like a general one like this from Yahoo, but my goal would be to just search by that. And one thing I know I can always use is my database, because the nice thing on here is I have it where I can look, the exact opposite of 52-week highs and see how far we are from it. Yeah. Because that's always a good way to screen. One thing I always liked about my database is how quickly you can screen these columns. That's one nice thing about Excel, is how you can play around with your data so much.
Yeah, way easier than on Google Sheets.
Yeah, I'm surprised that that's not like just something easy done on Google Sheets. That you would think that would be something that they would implement pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, start getting these back into use, because the thing is, since I've been swing trading so much, like I just haven't been using them as much. And don't get me wrong, I still pull them up here and there, but just the looking at the fundamentals, it doesn't really help when you're focused on a swing trading style.
Yes, it's not quick enough. You need to be much quicker than to go through everything like this. But maybe in these times it's also adding to your universe of knowledge. You know, if you spend the time now maybe in a slow week and go through fundamentals, and you see a setup and the ticker that you are familiarized with in a down period, and you know that the fundamentals are strong, it will give you more confidence, like with PBI, for example, like stuff like we know.
Yeah, and the other thing too
Taking a
is
swing trade.
the one thing that you and I used to do, and it was pretty successful, is you're just looking at really cash flows. And
Yeah.
during these market pullbacks, that's when stuff really can get cheap and kind of for no reason, just because everyone's selling out of everything because everyone's in such a panic mode.
Yeah.
And then you can look and just be like, all right, well, if this is generating $1, like, it should be trading at, just like a quick thing. Like if it's generating, a dollar on operating cost, you could probably argue it could be worth $10.
Yeah.
And or cash flow from operations, sorry. It should probably be, and obviously you have to subtract out what the business is spending. It can't just be that simple. But my point being is if it's under that amount, you could kind of calculate about what it should return to, and that's assuming it doesn't swing higher once everyone starts to buy back in.
Yeah, that's
and
I
just
I
check
don't
the debt levels,
remember.
make sure it's not going to go bankrupt.
Yeah, I don't remember who said it, but there was I think it was Mark Minervini who said it in an interview I've been watching, that that's exactly what he looked for in periods like this. Stocks that had been punished just purely because the market is going down. You know, there's no
Right.
other reason than that it's getting dragged down by everything else. And then then you have that on your radar, and when things starts to turn, you know about it. So it's always good to spend the time staying on top of things. I think that will give you a quicker decision making skills when things starts to bounce up again.
Right. So yeah, I mean that's just some of the ideas I have going forward.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. You got anything else? I mean, I know this is kind of a shorter stream if we call it here, but it's just one of those times where
There's
during
not
the
really
week I'm doing a lot of reflecting. I'm paying much less attention to the market. I kind of have just the NASDAQ up because I'm kind of just watching to see how far this continues to go down. And I keep track, at the start and end of the market just to see what moved and how much things are moving, which so far it's kind of been what we thought. Like, stuff's just not breaking out, and stuff that doesn't last long. You kind of need to take quicker gains. The odds are against you. It's like going into like a casino playing blackjack, and if you're someone who counts cards and you know that the deck's against you, that's not when you bet. You wait until the cards get in your favor, and then you start to place bigger bets, and that's how you outsmart like a casino. And it's not that this is some people would argue the stock market's a casino. But
it's funny because in Jesse Livermore's book, he calls it stock speculators.
Yes, I mean, well, that's exactly what it is. I mean, you know what? No matter what, if you're just looking at technicals, you're speculating regardless, because you're just looking. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand the whole point of how the fundamentals actually move the business, and even in this time, we've talked about value. There's companies that have taken off and had huge moves, and it's always on fundamental news. The problem is you got to know the businesses well to be able to call those, and that's a lot of work. And don't get me wrong, if you have the time to sit there and sift through companies one by one, like we have in the past, you can find those things, but you got to be looking and you got to be reading a lot, and then there's all the other factors that management has to carry out. Business factors have to work just in the right way. The overall market has to be going a certain way, and other times you just get unlucky. Things go wrong.
For sure.
Which, it's funny, my initial strategy that kind of bit me in the ass was taking large positions in the names I thought that were going to move, which worked out a few times, which is kind of what made me biased towards it. But then now I look at it and I'm like, if I was going to do deep value, I think I would take relatively small positions.
Yeah.
Because in deep value, I'm looking for something to be a multi-bagger, you know, over the course of my holding period, not be up 20% and take gains.
Yeah, that would be. That's what we have aimed for every time, right? 50 to at least 100, and that would be low side.
Yeah, for a longer holding period and in like a deep value style, I feel like you'd be wanting to get you're shooting for, you know, 200, 300, 500%.
Yeah. Hey Dane, I just noticed I missed this week, but Alto had another earnings this week that it seems like they missed again.
No shit.
Seems like they missed heavily also on earnings, and they surprised a little bit on the revenue. But I saw they trade now at 150, and that was after some news that was pretty positive because Justin has announced his stake, which is 7% now. There's another activist straight on the 5% that also urged the company to just sell the entire thing for around $6. And you have one from before, so together they are pushing to get us to get a change at least. I don't think they are big enough right now to have any influence, but you see more people are jumping into it, so it's something I still track, but I missed his earnings, but holy shit.
Yeah, I still think no matter what, I agree. Jeremy Raper was definitely right on this one.
Yeah.
And I think Justin's whole point of him starting to acquire more and more of the company is he wants to probably get a seat on the board or have more influence over the board and get them to sell the company. Because I think
Yeah.
at this point he knows he's not going to recoup his investment with elsewise.
Yeah.
So
I see Henrik Alex here is saying adjusted for one-time items, yesterday's results actually weren't that bad. So maybe it wasn't that bad because it didn't drop a lot, I see, but it was actually up also a bit after. But have you heard it before, right?
what's up?
Now, have you heard this story before with Alto? It's like
Oh, yes. Oh my God.
adjusted for one-time items. Yesterday results actually weren't that bad. It's like always something, right?
Always.
Yeah. But it's something, you know. I know a lot about this story and everything there. I haven't paid too much attention since I sold out completely, but it gets a bit interesting to try to maybe jump back in if there's an actual possibility for someone changing the board or management or a complete sale.
Yeah.
And I
You know,
see
I'm
here
just
Justin also is now probably more restricted to comment, I bet, because of his position.
yeah, I'm not sure how like the legal side of that works.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm kind of with like Cyan here. He's like, if the activists get to 30 to 40%, perhaps, like he's saying, like they really need a big thing.
Yeah.
But he's arguing that this Alto team will spend every penny fighting and bankrupting the company before giving up their paycheck. And you know, I get it that he's saying that's your opinion, but at the same time, too, management's done that now multiple times in a row. They have done what is not best for shareholders and definitely in their interest to keep the company going, to continue making their paychecks.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They have a high salary, you know.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they are in a good position. They also own stocks. Not that I think the play for them is to get rich on owning the stocks there, but even if they own something in the end, then when maybe they step down and sell the business, they have profited a lot, you know.
right, no matter what, no matter how it ends, even if it went bankrupt, they'd still be fine. I mean, these people are making, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah.
So
And I understand it's a tricky business and all that, but there's just no way you cannot put blame on the execution by the management in this case. But the thesis has completely changed, of course, since I first started to talk about it on the stream. It's now 100% about getting the management out or sell assets or the entire company. That's the only focus.
Yeah, and I feel like that makes sense. And to be honest, you know, I wouldn't even touch this thing unless I got in like below $1.30.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because also you have had the chance to do that in the past, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's, you know, I've gotten in the 30s before, and I think at this point I still wouldn't even be confident to get in unless it was that low.
Yeah.
And
Because you see, it runs up on the news with the activist and everything, almost to $2, right? And then it
yeah,
falls
and
straight
it's
down
done that so
again.
many times now. My
Yeah,
big thing is, if they think the assets are worth $6, I would,
yeah,
you know, if you want to argue taking some small position here at some value that you're comfortable with, whatever multiple you want of to get up to 6, assuming they could sell it for $6,
yeah,
I would take a small position there and hold that, and then you know
yeah.
it's just another waiting game. But
Exactly. I think you will have time to jump in to get a nice return if it ends up selling for 6.
my thing though is if the news comes out at 6, though, it's gonna reach 6 in an hour.
Yeah, but I'm sure you're going to pick up on, or at least you have to take a decision before concrete news comes out, you know.
That's what I'm saying. If you
Yeah.
wanted to try and capture that move, I
You
would
can.
wait until this gets to a good price and then
Yeah.
get in and just
Yeah.
hold that small position.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, it's just maybe follow whale wisdom then and look at the position sizing for the people who are involved now. See if there's some comments about from Justin. He's now the biggest owner. So maybe this is all you have. If you have followed the stream, you know about the business here. Um, you know about the story. So maybe that would be just an easy way to track things right now.
Yeah, Domo now owns 5 million shares.
Yeah. 8% almost. Yeah, according to that. And that raid, is it raid of Bradley Lewis?
Yeah.
He was the new one who also sent that letter. I see the ownership says 5% there, but I think in the other places I've looked, it's actually just below 5%.
Wait, is this right? It's 100% of Domo Capital Management's portfolio?
Yeah, but I think he have different accounts.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, there's no way that's his entire portfolio in this.
No, he's still in PBI. I've even seen that he started to talk about another ticker. So I've been curious if he's starting to take a position in something new.
Yeah, no, it's not, because he has 18 million in investments,
Yeah,
and that was only 8 million in net worth.
yeah,
Which, you know, as always, there could be foreign funds he owns. He could be short things. Those don't pop up in these. So,
yeah. But it's a big position for him. He has said that 100 times, you know.
well, I mean, no matter what, I mean, that if that's just one of his funds, I don't know how many funds are under Domo Capital.
Yeah, I think he has details on his website.
What's his
This one,
website?
yeah. There, Domo Capital. Yeah. Fact sheet. Coming soon.
I just want to look at performance.
I think he stopped doing those. You see, he updated with a terrible result there, and then he stopped.
Well, he also says here that he has 176 portfolios. So I know that's probably just the people who have invested in this,
Yeah, I think so.
but it doesn't really give you a good idea of.
But if you look at the title of that page, Domo Concentrated All Cap Value Composite, what does that even mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
But you can check. Is he listed as a owner in PBI? Because maybe that's an odd name.
He's got to be. He's still talking about PBI always, isn't he?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if he's on Whale Wisdom. I don't think he is.
If I was to click start investing, what does this do? You got to send him a thing. I was hoping it would say like which different ones I could invest in.
Yeah.
Well, let me look at the team real quick.
It's just him and another guy, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't find exactly what
No, same here.
it says in terms of how many portfolios he has.
Doesn't really matter. You're probably gonna hear less from him around ALTO, though.
Yeah, I do not see Domo Capital though under PBI.
No, I didn't. I've never seen him there, I think.
Strange.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. I have rarely seen him in Whale Wisdom at all. I know I saw him in Soluna, I think it was, which was also SLNH.
No, you know what? I think this is correct though, because it says on his webpage, now this is 2023, so obviously it's old, but managed 18.8 million in assets. So I do think he's very heavily running or just sticking with ALTO.
Yeah. Yeah, but he must be in PBI.
Let me ask AI. How many funds does Domo Capital Management run? According to this, it says they have just basically one because it's all basically on concentrated all cap value strategy.
Okay.
So I don't know, that might be his only large enough position worth mentioning.
Yeah. I see he has a post on X about the earnings also, which he has locked the comment section on, so you can't comment on it. But he's just saying, I can only comment on ALTO financials. If you were just looking at the headline numbers, you may be confused. So let me clarify on their behalf, which is like every time, right?
Yeah, right.
Our consolidated net loss, yeah, he goes into detail, and going forward, all things equal, and assuming ALTO operates as ALTO for another full year, if Western assets are now at least break even at a gross profit level, as they appeared to state, that is a 20 million difference in gross profit. And if the other cuts are 8 million, then the 2024 11.2 million loss gains 28 million, which takes you to 16.8 in profit, or around 22 cents per share in 2025. A lot of ifs, but what is not an if is what if the Western assets didn't exist in 2024, ALTO's gross profit, blah blah blah. You know, it's still the same thing. Like, and I'm not blaming Justin for anything like this, but he just put some word on the operation and the story. There is always something, always some if, always some but, and they never seem to manage to deliver, which is that's not true. Actually, they have delivered great results when I was following them, but they have missed some great opportunities where people expected them to deliver like crazy, you know, which is what we are talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, It's too bad his the only thing I think is maybe he sold out as well because PBI's been doing really well.
Yeah,
You know, as a concentrated value investor, somewhere in here you have to start to say what you think the business is worth, and that's typically when a value investor would sell out. They're not trying to nail the top. So it could be also too that in here he's out, because he was in this way back here. He's been in PBI for a long time.
Yeah, I see it. His last post about PBI is 26th of February, the way I can see it.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe he's still holding. It's just strange it doesn't pop up on anything. But he also hasn't updated any of his stuff, which is kind of strange.
No, he stopped doing that, and people gave him shit for it because he didn't deliver. He's down on a lot of his picks in the since 2021.
Yeah, well, he was in on GameStop, but I know he made kind of a killing on that whole move. But I mean,
He was in
GameStop made
if you go to the ticker SLNH, Soluna Holdings, that was like a crypto play. They were mining crypto in a green way by leveraging like excessive powers from the grid. And that just I think he has an article where he bought around $10 and it went even lower. That has been terrible. And also David's T he has been involved in, which I think has some similar story that it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then I guess PBI, all of these he has been in the same amount of time, and PBI has worked out. And maybe he's still waiting for ALTO.
Yeah.
But I also know that he was in UNFI, which took years to play out, and in the end he made a killing on it.
What was that one?
UNFI? No, N.
Oh, Unify.
Yeah. I know this was a big home run for him.
Yeah, actually, I like this one. It just I've been only looking at it really more during swing trading, and it's just not great for swing trading.
Yeah.
Although, sometimes I zoom out here and I'm like, is this weekly, right? You could definitely swing trade on weekly charts. I understand why O'Neill uses the weekly, because the weeklies are like, I don't know, they're like clearer breakouts in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, just a little bit of an update on Justin, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing when you're doing value, you can go down rabbit holes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it all matters, right? The more information you have, the better stuff you can do. But yeah, for me, ALTO didn't work out, but I'm still checking. If I can get back a little bit of the loss, I will jump in.
Yeah.
BNED, another one.
Yeah, another one of my faves.
I think that's approximately a year ago now, right? Where they had that crazy delusion.
Yeah, April.
Yeah, something like around here.
It's a good, strong year of learning for me.
Yeah, but it has been.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, you just have to move on, and it's never fun to lose your hard-earned money. And if you if you keep on, if that's all you do in this, you have to stop. But so far, I'm just looking for opportunities to continue and to learn and to improve on everything,
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that it makes you a better investor if you learn from your mistakes. What to do, what not to do.
I think what's crazy in hindsight now, when we have focused more on the charts, is that if we had that knowledge and were confident in using it on both of these tickers, BNED and ALTO, I think we would have made some different decisions at some points.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's just another volatile stock with a tough narrative to follow. Even though I still stand by what I thought the narrative was and how it played out, just tough to get diluted like that.
Yeah.
Which in hindsight, like I said, I would take that more seriously. But
Yeah.
that was one of those plays too that I'm almost glad it didn't work out, because I would have made really, really good money on that, and then I would have never learned. I would have made the mistake with even more money, and it would have been much, much harsher. So
Yeah. But that's a good way to look at it too, right?
Keep moving forward.
Yeah. At least everything we have done, it's on the channel, so there's no secrets here.
Yeah, no, I do want to be as transparent as possible, and anybody who's watching, that's why we always say it's important to do your own due diligence, and this is the learning, period. I think that's the whole point of the stream is, you and I didn't come into this as great investors. We had some success, and we just enjoyed learning about it. That's one thing. Like, a lot of people are like, want to talk about getting into the markets and stuff, and I always just tell everybody, like, if it's something that really, really interests you, it's something worth getting into. If you don't kind of love it like a passion, it's like a really, really tough game to try and play without putting a lot of focus into it.
Yeah, you have to.
Just remember, if you're that one who's getting in and you're all excited because something's been going up for a long time and you're just getting in, you're the one that's buying at the top, most likely.
You are late already, and I think the worst period or maybe not, for some people, but a lot of people started to invest after the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And probably felt like, I know a lot of gamblers and people who were doing like sports bets and stuff like that came into the market because sport was closing. So they put their money into the market and probably felt like why haven't I done this before? Because this is very easy. But I don't see as many anymore.
No, I mean, you can only run so high with everyone's, money before it all kind of gets pushed around, and, the average person starts to lose, and then they're like, all right, I'm out. And then the whole momentum kind of comes to a quick end.
Yeah.
But, I think the problem is it's the same thing. And I think this is why, if you look at human history, everything tends to repeat, is because people forget.
Yeah.
Or it's the next generation coming up who hasn't learned the lesson yet.
Yeah, exactly. And that in Jesse Livermore's book also, he said he struggled to explain why stock patterns move like they do, and I know Kulamagi says it too, but it's like he just how do you say it? He just like put it on. This is just human psychology,
right?
And that's just how it is.
No, and it's true.
Yeah. Which means that things will repeat itself going forward too.
Yeah. So always a lot to reflect on.
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to add there?
No, just interesting to hear what you have learned about. What was it? History of the computer this week?
Yeah, that was one of the rabbit holes I went down. I don't know why I even care about these things. I'm seriously a huge loser, and just on between YouTube and AI, going through the whole history of computers, learning about how everything works. I got all the way through, and I'm talking like mainframe computers. And don't get me wrong, I know a lot about computers in the first place. I'm just filling in holes in the way I understand how things worked and how it evolved. And like, it's so crazy to think about that. And mind you, this is totally off topic, so you can pretty much end the stream here if you don't care. But, like the first computers that were actually like a computer that was being used, the only way you fed it information was through punch cards, which is wild to me. Like, there's no typing interface, there's no nothing. It's just you put a punch card in and it takes it in. And the first one was all with vacuum tubes. And, it's able to do, they were impressed because it could do like 500 calculations a second. Which, don't get me wrong, that's still impressive, but it just kind of doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. But then within like the next generation of computers, it went from 500 calculations to like 10,000, which is a massive jump. And then from there, goes into the millions. And then, you know, today's stuff, it's like your phone does billions of calculations in a second, which it's just wild to think how that's evolved. But, and then I got into the whole physics side of things where I'm learning about quantum computers and how quantum physics works. And that's a whole wild field. And once you start to appreciate what quantum physics is doing, it makes you view the world in a very different way. My mind is just just very interesting to see how things work. To be honest, you want to think of an implementation for quantum physics. The way the markets work would be interesting to be able to apply that to this. Just because essentially what quantum physics is doing is looking at something that every possibility occurs, and because every possibility essentially does occur when something goes to react or something happens. You don't realize it, but every possible reaction or occurrence that could happen is actually being tested essentially at all times.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna. This is me being vague because, to be honest, I'm not saying I 100% understand it. I have a good idea, I think, but it's complicated. And you could run it through so many models and situations here, and I bet you'd be able to come up with correlations on some different things that would help to predict the markets. What those are, I don't know. I would imagine it has to do with actual selling and buying signals, and the computer being able to take that, look at all the other examples, and calculate based on statistics what would most likely occur and be able to give you a reasonably accurate number.
Yeah.
But the problem is that's massive computers that are only in really big areas. Like I'm talking like IBM owns them and whatnot. It's not like someone just has quantum computers in their house. That's not something that exists. Maybe someday.
What was that guy? The big investor. He died recently, but he did investing with mathematics.
Who's that?
Nah, that's why I'm asking. Like I can't remember his name. He died recently. Very successful, very well known.
He's a mathematician.
Yeah, he's a mathematician.
From where is he? From the States or from?
Yeah. You know him, but let me try to. Yeah, this guy, Jim Simmons.
Oh, Jim Simmons. Okay.
Didn't he do like a big, maybe a bit different, but big amounts of data, and he just read the data and could predict the market? He never told his secret, but I think that's his strategy.
I imagine, like I said, from a bird's eye perspective, I went through and tried to look for signals, and it's really tough to do. If I had a computer that was able to really, really dig into the data, I bet it would find correlations that you as a human wouldn't be able to come up with.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. He only worked on big amounts of data.
Yes, and that's always the most important. I mean, you look at AI services, and in my mind, I was wondering like, how come AI needs to have so many GPUs and stuff like that? And this is to help my understanding of everything going on. And you start to realize it's just because you need to filter every data point you can. The more data you put into something, the better the AI is, because it's reflecting on all this information. And then once the AI is kind of set, when you ask it a question, it's the most accurate it can be. And don't get me wrong, you got to tweak this after pre-testing and all that kind of stuff. But it just gives you an idea of how these things work. And actually learning at a base level of like, how do you code for AI? Like, how do you make an AI? Like that all is like fascinating to me. And once you start to get some of the basics down, and you can start to see how this stuff is evolving, and also the potential of where this could go, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I'm starting to look at today's day and age, kind of how like I originally like when I think back as a kid, and I was in the 90s and the internet became a thing. You start to see that we're connecting on these web pages, and everyone across the world can talk and utilize these things and send signals back and forth, which I'm sure was originally probably as a big a deal with like the telephone. But it makes you think we're in like the next age And at the time, I thought it was like, we can't get any higher than this. Like, this is the most amazing thing in the world. And now
Yeah.
I'm starting to see AI as that next step, except we're just at the start of it, which is even more impressive. Because, you know, as of now, these AIs can do, I would say, relatively basic tasks. And when I say basic, don't get me wrong, it's incredible what they can do. But in terms of them able to come up with, you know, kind of like profound new ideas and whatnot, that can come possibly. And that would be something that's really going to change the way things are looked at. You know, now it's a tool. You know, I can ask it a question and it can do a really good job of going through a ton of information and giving me an answer. And don't get me wrong, that's extremely useful. But in the future, being able to look for kind of novel ideas, that's where I think it's going to head, or at least that's where hopefully it can head. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. It starts to break down the difference between, you know, the conscious mind versus something that's programmed, and how close can those get to each other.
Yeah. Which is why we have talked about the robots on here. We take them serious, right?
The robots are no joke.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're gonna keep being a bit careful when we speak about them.
I always say, you know, I trust in the robots.
Yeah.
Always
Sure.
just trust the robots.
Yeah.
But
No, but
yeah.
fascinating. It's also like you said. I've been doing the same, just more like I know you are a bit ahead of me in terms of the books you have read and stuff like that. But I'm trying to gain knowledge, and I've spent this last month actually to just try to find good interviews, good books. I've bought a couple of books. I'm going through them now. So just spending time trying to improve, or even if it's not attached to investing, everything helps.
Yeah, everything kind of wraps in.
Yeah.
You know, I find that even though my passion for investing is something that's so forefront, you know, the idea of being successful in investing, I think for most people, is just to allow them to have true financial freedom where they can really start to delve into other things they really enjoy.
Yeah.
And you know, in a period like this where there's the downturn, I kind of look at this as like going into the future. Even if I was successful during the down periods, would be actually the better times of your life, because you don't have to focus on the markets. You can enjoy all those other things you like to do.
I agree.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, the whole point of, I feel like, the breakout strategy is it's not as time consuming as day trading is, as real deep value investing is, because you just have to sit there and do so much work.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of traders that claim at least that they are successful, are like they are on their boats fishing and stuff like that. You know, it would be so good to take off, to be able to do this, to take off all the pressure about that comes with having to earn money and stuff like that. It will free up your time. You can spend it on better things, you know. So yeah, let's see. We talked about BNED this 1 year ago. Let's see where we are in 1 year in the future then.
Well, so far since I started doing the swing trading, like I said, what am I up now? And like I said, I've gone down a smidge, but still in, I don't know, I'd argue it's been 6 months now or whatever it is. I'm still up 26%, so
Yeah,
that's not bad.
and that's like half of the time in a bad period, I think.
Well, the last month has definitely been in a down period, and the month before that, I guess you could argue traded sideways.
Yeah,
But
not the best, at least.
yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. In October, in some of those other periods leading up to the end of last year, there was some really bullish markets that if I had just followed my rules, I would have done really well.
Yeah.
Easily could have been at like 60, 70%.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's why, as of now, it's like I don't feel like I need to change too much. You know,
Yeah.
this is a pullback, so I'm learning during pullbacks what to do, which is other things. But
Yeah.
Either way, it all in the long run adds up. Have you
Yeah.
have you looked at insiders at all?
No, been a while. I've done it for single companies.
Only reason I ask is because I'm curious.
Carlos Slim still buying PBF? Or was it
No, that
not
was old. That
updated?
was old. This is updated.
Yeah, okay.
There's still a lot of insider buys. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these
But
are
like you
for
said though, if you're a value guy, this is probably where you would put money in.
true.
Yeah. There is a PBF there. He's still buying crazy amounts.
Yeah, I've liked PBF for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still buying millions.
I mean, look at Texas Pacific Land Corp. I remember looking at this a long time ago, thinking like, "Oh, how high can this go? High. It can keep going higher."
Yeah.
I mean, this almost what is it at the peak here?
1.7.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I've been looking at it in here when it was in like the $400 range, and being like, "Wow, that's a pricey stock." And it's like, and I say pricey just in just general numbers, not saying it's expensive in terms of business. And no, it's not. It can go higher.
Yeah.
This is a good William O'Neill stock.
Oh, there's another purchase in Mastercraft from the CEO.
Well, we were talking about that kind of seems to be at like a low.
Yeah, and I'm surprised they just don't want to go higher that stock.
Yeah,
and
but
you
this
know,
is the kind of thing like Mark's saying, like that's a strong business in a weak sector.
Yeah, it is. It is. And first time I've seen the CEO buy, and he bought at 1672. Not a big purchase, but $83,000. That's a lot for me.
Yeah, I mean it adds up.
Yeah. All right. There's someone doing some construction work. I don't know if my microphone is picking it up.
Yeah, I can hear it a little bit, but
Really
either
hear
way,
myself.
I'm just
Did you say
saving everything. And all right, I think we'll call it there. Everybody have a good rest of your week. We'll see where next week goes. The same thing. I'll be on in the mornings to see if anything looks like it's moving. I'll keep a close eye on the indexes to see if anything can start to push out, and see if we can rally above that 200 day moving average. That's a real big spot to rally above. If not, I think the next moving average is on like a weekly or monthly chart, and it's around like 14 or 15,000. So it would be another big. I mean, it's a big pullback to get all the way down to that number. I don't think we'll get that low, but we'll see.
Yeah.
You got anything to add?
No, I think I just have to quit here because I can't hear anymore.
All right. See you, everybody.
All right. Yeah, bye.